So, here we go. Spawning in the lower right-hand corner of Hard Lead. We have our Onside Gaming Zerg player. It is Solar. Looking very strong lately. His opponent in the upper left-hand corner also having some solid results. And I don't know, he's looking back in form. And I'm very happy to see it. He's an excellent Protoss. It is Classic. Looking for the Twisted Minds. I feel like we're finally getting the Classic that, you know, I remember from years past. Ooh, Solar wants to take this hatch. And the probe is now going to chase the drone. Yeah, I feel like Solar really wanted that hatchery. He went back for it. Probe says no. But yeah, I'm excited to see Classic. You know, for a while when he came back, he looked really strong, but he definitely had some weaknesses, some things he still needed to work on after returning from his military service. And it always is hard to watch a player try to get back into form after taking a break. It can be really hard. There's so much you have to do to get back into form, and it takes a long time for most players. And Classic was like 90% there for a while. And it feels like just recently, just this year even, he's finally at that 100%. Like he's been looking like the Classic I have always expected him to be. And it's been really nice to see. Solar, on the other hand, is one of the most consistent pros. He's always right up there at the big dogs. He can take maps and series off of anybody at any time. He's always dangerous, but he doesn't often crack the top, the very top, right? He doesn't often win the tournaments. He will often get to the end of tournaments, right? We'll see him in a lot of round of 8s, round of 4s, even in finals, but we don't see him crack to the end a lot. I'm sorry, in chat, I disabled the bracket command. We're actually, the tournament ended. We are casting replays of matches that nobody else covered. So nobody covered this match. Nobody's seen this. But if you look at the bracket, it will spoil the results. So recommend not. So I disabled the bracket command just so that we could keep an air of mysticism around what happens for anybody joining right now. It's more fun, I think, to watch when you don't know who's going to win. But these games are very fresh. They were played like an hour and a half ago. I can't get through a bracket like this with all these insanely sick matchups that nobody covered and just like leave them. I'd rather stay up late. I will be staying up late tonight, very late. But it's worth it. It's worth it for these matches. Now Classic's going to dive in here with a couple of Adepts. Just try to be a little bit annoying. See if he can't get some drone kills. Link speed finished up, though. It's going to make it a little bit harder. It looks like one of these Adepts is going to fall before the shade away. And she goes. The other one should be able to get out of there. But the Oracle's coming in now as well. I don't think any drones went down to those Adepts. Oh my god, but the drones are running underneath the Oracle. And all of a sudden, 6 drones have now gone down. As this Oracle grabs 5 kills. I guess the Adepts killed 1. The Oracle will run away. But that's a great start for Classic. Solar definitely taking a little bit more damage than you'd expect from that. And with one Adept staying alive, that makes it a little bit easier for Classic to hold this third. Just losing the pylon. Classic going for the standard follow-up, Twilight Council, and the Forge. You know, for a long time, I expected this to be Blink pretty much every time. But now I feel like I'm seeing Charge more and more often from the Protosses, so I'm kind of expecting Charge here from Classic. We'll see what he ends up going for. You know, different strokes for different folks, and might have different ideas of what to do on different maps. But, yeah, kind of expecting that Charge. We'll see what he goes for. More gateways and a robo going down for Classic. Come on, give us a tech. Give us a tech. +1. Charge! Haha! I just want to know if I'm right or not, you know? That's it. I'm a simple man. I just like to know if I'm right. Adepts sitting over here. 3 Adepts targeting down drones, and the Lings are on the other side of the map. This Queen has her work cut out for her. This is a lot more drone damage going down here. Up to 11, 12 kills right now. Oh, man, and these Adepts just stay here. They're just targeting down drones over and over and over again. Up to 16 worker kills, and that was just 3 Adepts. That was so good for Classic, who is now up 12 workers off the back of that. Solar is droning up behind it, but it's trying to get into a lair and a Roach Warren as well. The Lings are looking for counter damage, but they're simply not going to find it with 3 Oracles here. Only 1 Oracle really needs to turn on if Solar commits. And with 3 of them, you can just do that basically ad infinitum, which is a fancy way of saying forever. And you know I like to be fancy. You know me, I'm a fancy kind of guy. Speaking of fancy, Classic actually going for probably the least fancy composition he could go for, which seems to be like Charge Lot Immortal Archon. Warping in High Templar. There's no Immortals, I guess, so maybe it's even less fancy. Just Charge Lot Archon, the Classic. Oh, I don't know what this Prism is doing. Just running in to these Queens. The Oracle's hanging out with it too, but taking a lot of damage. Overseer wants to go see what's going on. I mean, the army, the tech's getting a little bit fancier for Classic with the Robo Bay going down, but he is just trying to poke and prod and maybe force a cancel on this 4th base. A very forward 4th base for Solar to go for on this map. The Lings sneak in, but it's like 4 of them, so they don't really get anything done here, it looks like, as the Zealots clean them up. Solar gets to keep the base alive, and he is teching into a Hydra Den and into a Hive. So going to be heading towards Lurkers, which makes a lot of sense against the ground army. But the Disruptors coming out can be a really good counter to Lurkers. And Lurkers are kind of a ways away. If Classic goes for a push before then, he could have a very powerful push. But it looks like he's just going to go for a 4th base and some macro. The little baby Ursadak here going to be guarding those mining probes shortly. It's not very good at guarding them, but it will be there. And we're just macroing. This is kind of fun. I feel like I'm used to very aggressive PVZs from one side or the other these days. But, I mean, we're 8.5 minutes in and nobody shows any sign of attacking right now. Solar's heading towards Lurkers. He's got to wait for Lurker upgrades before he can really do anything. More drones going down, though. These Oracles getting like 6 more kills here. And Classic's going to wait for at least a little bit longer. He's got Blink and +2 on the way. I can't imagine he would want to hit before Blink is done. But as I say that, he warps in a bunch more Stalkers, and he's going to start pushing out a little bit. He's got some Zealots in the main base pulling the Roaches away. And that's going to allow Classic to move into this 4th base. He doesn't have Blink, so he needs to be a little careful, setting up some stasis traps here. Disruptor Nova goes forward. Doesn't get a huge hit, but enough to keep Solar back for now. Solar's 4th base still in some trouble. Does he have enough out to defend this? He was trying to get to Lurkers, but those are nowhere nearby. Instead, he's just building a bunch of Roaches and Hydras. Another Disruptor Nova gets a huge connection. Classic starting to push through, but again, the lack of Blink. These Stalkers don't have that trade ability they usually have. That cost efficiency is a little bit less than you'd expect out of the Stalkers. And Solar able to pick off, I think it was a couple of the Oracles. Sends these units packing. One of the Disruptors goes down. Another Disruptor shows up, but it's hitting at a really bad angle here, and Classic doesn't realize it's there, and it is just going to die for nothing. At the same time, Classic has this Prism at the top side, but it's just not doing anything. There are a few Zealots nearby, but they just run into Roaches. And so far, Solar's defense has been very, very good. There's one big Disruptor Nova hit, but I feel like Classic pushing before Blink was ready. Maybe making a bit of a mistake. Those Stalkers now they're able to blink back and trade beautifully like they usually would. Now he has Blink. Now he can take better trades, but now the Lurkers are up. Their range is about to finish. Oh no! Classic! Just walking into Lurkers. Maybe didn't realize they were there for a hot second. Takes a lot of damage on his Stalkers. A lot of injured Stalkers. Shieldless Stalkers. So he's going to back up. Warp in some more units. Get some more Disruptors. But again, that is giving Solar time. Range is now done for the Lurkers. Their Speedy Burrow is next on the list. I will say Solar, no upgrades. His +1 missile attacks is about halfway done. Classic's got +3 halfway done. And he is continuing to push. Solar needs to get some upgrades going. I'd love to see a second Evo Chamber, but he's more focused on the army right now. He's more focused on this push as the Lurkers come back in. Some Disruptor Nova. The Stalkers picked off one of those Lurkers. But the Vipers being very useful here, picking off those Disruptors. Whoop! Nova gets a bit of a connection. More Lurkers on the way. 7 more morphing here as Solar continues trying to take good trades, killing these all-important Disruptors. Big Zealot Warping over at this attempted 5th base, though, and Solar has been hard stuck on 4 bases this game. So that's why he's not investing more into upgrades. He really can't afford it, I say, which seems silly because he's banking 2,500 minerals right now. But he wants to keep that money around to be able to replace units with because his income isn't as good as he would really like it to be at this point. But he is going to force this Prism away. Ooh, actually, this Prism is going to take some damage on its way out. Classic moving in over on the left-hand side. Disruptors. Ooh, good snipe on one of the Vipers. The other one kills one of those Disruptors by yoinking it into the army. Seems the Prism has been handled. I think it might have died. There is no more Prism on the map. All right. Prism died, so Solar doesn't have to worry about that right now, and that means he can focus all his attention on this frontal attack. And actually, Solar's looking for a counterattack. He's just going. Oh, he says screw it. Okay, and Classic says, okay, yeah, I'm down with that. Oh, no. Oh, the Disruptors. Oh, my God, some big Novas there. Not a ton of kills, but a lot of damage done. And now there's a Tempest out. I don't think there's any Hydras here. I'm pretty sure these Tempests can just willy-nilly shoot at these units. Classic on the other side of the map has killed 2 bases already. This feels better for Classic. Although Solar has quite a bit of army here to stop him from moving in. The Lurkers on the other side of the field did get a kill, but it's 2 bases for the Zerg to 3 for the Protoss. Both players supply blocked here. Oh, good pickoffs here from Classic. But at the same time, Solar also picking off a Disruptor, and he is pushing this back. Solar's army is better than this army. Classic has a lot of supply back over here. Solar's pushing army, though, feels very, very strong. Oh, the 3 Disruptors, though. The Tempest as well can just kind of lay damage out from a distance. Big blink forward there to pick off another Lurker. Solar trying to pull this army back. Where are the Lurkers? Oh, there's 1 dead. There's 2 dead. We found the Lurkers. Disruptor Nova coming in, gets a huge connection. Solar eating a lot of damage from those Disruptors, but a lot of Stalkers died here as well to the Lurkers. A bit of a trade. Classic ends up ahead about 20 workers, and that's going to allow him to resupply much, much better as we see his army supply also starting to jump ahead. Solar finally has another base, but it's still, right now, 3 bases to 3 as both players are working on taking a 4th. But this 4th is pretty mined out, so as Solar takes it, it's really not much of a 4th. He's going to be on effectively maybe 2.5 total mining bases. And I think Classic's going to be about the same. Maybe even better for Classic as this base finishes up in a minute or so here. But Solar has a lot of tools at his disposal. Both players actually have really interesting armies that can allow them to take good trades depending on the control, right? 13 Lurkers, that's no joke. The Viper, it's only 1 Viper, but that can be an incredibly useful unit. However, Tempest and Disruptors here for Classic can be so good. There's going to be 2 Tempests dead, though. Oh, but the Disruptor Novas come in and get some incredible connections. Is it enough for Solar to hold on? It feels like it should be, but he is fighting into more lurkers, and all of a sudden, Solar hits from the right-hand side with even more units, but then the Zealots come in. Oh my god, it's the flank of the flank, and Classic is going to be able to push this back. There's a couple lurkers to fall back to, but Solar, that's all he's got. They're being focus fired down. Two of the lurkers live, though. Classic running low on stalkers. He blinks forward again just to try to pick off some more units. These 4 Tempests are so key, but as I say that, one more gets yoinked in and taken down by the Hydras. But that is the final lurker. I don't think there's a single one left on the field. Solar's going to have to morph more. And he's only on 54 workers. Classic's economy is better. He's on 69 right now. So he is mining. They're kind of mining similarly, honestly. Classic needs to get the probes over here to be mining more. But he will be shortly. Solar trying to rotate around the left-hand side, but without the Vipers, can he get on top of these Tempests? He is going to dive forward. Those speedy Hydras from that buff. But then the Disruptor going to try to punish him for it. Gets a nice connection. Solar needs to be really, really careful. There's also Storm available on these High Templar right now, as they are gaining that energy to land those storms. And Classic sending a Prism off while defending on his better 4 bases. Solar is trying to retake this one. If he can get that up and get a few more drones at it, he can be in an okay spot. But his biggest problem right now is that Classic, he's already at a better economic spot, and he is utilizing it to get a better army out. Carriers coming out. A mothership is on the way. The Prism goes down. That's a good victory for Solar. But make no mistake, Classic is ahead in this game. Solar's best shot is if Classic chills for long enough for Solar to get this base up, get maybe 10 more drones out, and get into that Hydra, Lurker, Viper army with some Spore Crawlers that can allow him to fight this army a bit better. Classic, though, he's going to be taking this base once again. And I feel like he's setting himself up so well. But I do worry. I worry that he's letting Solar get into a decent late-game spot. And as this air army grows, the air army is only on +1 attack. There's no other upgrades coming out for Classic. He does have shields as well, which kind of helps. But Solar is really far behind in upgrades against the ground army, which has +3. But not so much against the air army, right? So if the air army is the main contention, then Solar's ground army is actually upgraded fine. He's about to have +2. He's going to be ahead on upgrades here in a minute against the air army. So that's kind of an unfortunate thing about this transition to air for Classic, is he's losing that upgrade lead that he has had all game. And I think Solar is prepared to be fighting air units. His army, I mean, this is one of the best armies in the game, Hydra, Lurker, Viper, if you can control it well enough. And those Disruptor Novas do not connect. Great control from Classic, though. Getting some feedbacks off, focusing down some of these Vipers. The Hydras are going to be able to kill that mothership, but that is all of the Lurkers dead. The Immortals underneath, these +3 attack Immortals, doing so much damage. Look at these Roaches running forward like, we'll tank for you, and then just being dead. The Interceptors, though, are all dead as well, but it's not gonna matter, man. Classic's army is just too strong. The Tempest and Immortals clean the rest of that up. That final engagement felt like maybe Solar had a chance. He had a good army, but just well handled by Classic. His army was so well rounded, and it was very well upgraded as well. And that's going to be game 1 to Classic. Let's take a look at what map game 2 is on, so we make sure to choose the right thing here. I got bad news. I don't think I have all these games. No, that can't be possible. Okay, never mind. We're good. I got it. Don't you worry. You love waking up to StarCraft? Who doesn't love that? I love waking up to StarCraft. I love going to sleep to StarCraft. You know what I miss? I don't dream as much these days. I miss dreaming about StarCraft. I think it's because I don't play it as much, so I'm just casting it and watching it a lot. But I don't really play it very often. But I remember dreaming about StarCraft back in the day. I also think it's because I'm not nearly as sleep deprived as I was back in like college. Those are good times. Anyways, let's get into game number 2 here. We're on Alcyone, and spawning in the lower left-hand corner, we have our red Zerg player for Onside Gaming, Solar. Falling in that first game, his opponent in the upper right-hand corner for Twisted Minds is Classic. Taking a solid game 1 there. But yeah, I remember dreaming about StarCraft, and also, speaking of being sleep deprived, hallucinating about StarCraft. And that's something I haven't done about a video game in a long time. I do miss those times. It's probably good that I'm not staying up for 30 hours on a regular basis anymore, which is when the hallucinations would kind of start. And it became very hard to, like, I don't know, not just have StarCraft flashing in front of my eyes all the time. But those are some good times, man. Some good times. It's nice to think about a game so often that it's just in your brain when you're sleeping. You're just dreaming about it. I don't really dream that often these days, actually. It's one of those things, like, I very seldomly remember a dream when I wake up. It's pretty rare for me. And it kind of sucks. I love dreaming. I always love dreaming. And I always really wanted to, like, figure out how to lucid dream. But because I don't remember the dreams, I'm never, like, present in them, you know? I'm never in there. Never in those dreams. My dreams are being had without me. It's not fair. Maybe I need to do more hallucinogenics. That's the real answer here, guys. I just need to, like, go out to the forest, pick some mushrooms. As long as they're the right kind of mushrooms. That is, in fact, the answer. Okay, well, I mean, there we go. Confirmation. Maybe I'll, you know, eat some mushrooms. Actually, some friends went hiking the other day, and they took some mushroom pictures. And one of them looked just like a Mario mushroom. Like, it was red with white spots regularly on the top of it. And I was like, oh, you should have eaten that. You would have grown in size. It's a good mushroom. You should go for that one. I don't know if that's true, but it felt true. That's what happened in Mario, and I believe video games. This wall sucks, Classic. It's better, but this wall still sucks. Like, this is bad. This is a bad wall. Classic really messing this one up. The Adept did get one drone and one ling, but that's about it. It's Oracle time. Oh, don't eat those? Don't eat those mushrooms? Okay. Okay. What if, just hypothetically, what if somebody did eat those mushrooms? Like 2 days ago, and they're feeling okay now. Just like hypothetically. Do you know, like, what should they do? Because it's kind of too late to, like, throw it back up or something. Should I tell that person to, like, go to the hospital, or? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Nobody ate the spooky mushrooms. We're all smart enough to not just eat mystery mushrooms out in the forest. I don't even really like regular mushrooms. Like in my food, I'm not a big mushroom fan, honestly. They're okay. I tried. Okay, so I made a concerted effort to like eat more mushrooms and be okay eating mushrooms. And I don't mind them. But the thing is, I will still never choose to eat them. I don't love them. I won't choose to eat them. They're fine. If they're in something, I won't pick them off. That's where I've gotten with my eating of mushrooms. But all right, what's going on in this game? There's been some trades. Really, it's just Classic's done a great job picking off creep tumors and killing lings. That's about it so far. Not a ton of damage, but killing that creep can be really, really annoying for the Zerg. That creep is not only is it a speed boost for your units, but it's vision as well. And these adepts shaded in there, and Solar just didn't notice. And I feel like if those creeps were at a little bit further, maybe he would have. And now those lings got to come back and fight this. A couple more units go down. Yeah, 4 drones, 23 lings. It looks like finally the last of these adepts is going to go down. But this is so annoying for Solar to deal with. And it's allowed Classic to just get this base up for free. The lings have not been over here to contest this at all. And now he's chilling. He's got the triple Oracle. He's got a couple of Stalkers here with the shield battery. Stalkers are going to be totally fine. All right, cool. It looked for a second there like he was going to kill a Stalker, but no such luck. In the meantime, Classic getting into Blink and +1. He's got a second Robo on the way. So it looks like, yeah, with that Robo Bay coming up. Oh, and a second Forge as well. Oh, Classic. Oh, he's committing hard to the ground. That would be really cool if Solar didn't have a Spire on the way. And I feel like this is just a perfect choice here for Solar. There are going to be Blink Stalkers to help deal with this. There is a Stargate as well, so I don't think it would be... It might not be a good idea for Classic to commit really hard into Mutas, but there's so much focus on a ground army right now that maybe a handful of Mutas could be really, really nice. Also, double Colossi, I mean, Corruptors could just be sick here as well if Solar ends up needing them. Double Colossi, not something we see super often against Zerg. Blink Colossus. Kind of an older style, but it is very strong. Saw somebody doing it recently. I don't exactly remember who. These lings trying to get in. Classic has beefed up his wall with these extra 2 pylons. But at the same time, the Stalker's going to blink onto the Queens here. The Mutas are going to pop out and immediately be into the fight. Not usually where they want to be, but there's enough Mutas and lings here to actually force the recall, and a lot of stuff died attempting to recall out of there, including, I think, all of the Oracles. Never mind, except this one. But Classic now knows what he's up against. He's going to be warping in Stalkers back at home and building Phoenixes. Muta's running across the map. The lings are coming as well. The Mutas are going to try to draw these units into the main base. Ooh, that's a nice blink there for Classic. Muta's diving in here. Only 1 Phoenix for the time being. So the Mutas are going to be focusing on some probe kills. Lings gathering out here, but not going in so far. They do need to be careful. There's still 2 Colossi in this mineral line right now. More Mutas on the way. I said, oh, maybe Solar shouldn't commit to Mutas, but sometimes that's the perfect time to commit to Mutas with +1 and more Mutalists on the way. But it seems like Classic knows what he's up against because he's got the Fleet Beacon and a second Stargate on the way with more Phoenixes coming out, hoping the Blink Stalkers will be enough to push these Mutas away in the meantime. While he gets out as many Phoenixes as he can, he sees that the Muta clump is getting bigger and bigger, and he knows he's made the right decision. There are a lot of lings out, but again, the Colossi already counter the lings. The Blink Stalkers aren't terrible against them either. Corruptor's coming out now as well, as Solar is full committing to the air army. Oh, this is kind of cool, man. We don't see this very often. The problem for Classic is getting a 4th base setup is very difficult. We see him trying to take a hidden one, but because Mutas and lings are all around on this map, it's going to be very hard to keep that hidden for long. The Muta's going to dive in here. They're going to get some kills. The Phoenixes will push them away. kill that Overseer as well. But it feels like Classic's economy is just not in a great spot. So he's not able to build enough of an army to contend with Solar, who's on 80 drones and is just cruising on his side of the map. And now with the Corruptors out, the Phoenixes aren't nearly the big daddies they were a minute ago. That being said, Anti-Impulse Crystals is on the way, but I don't know if the Phoenixes and Stalkers can actually win this fight straight up against the air army of Solar. He is going to turn on the Super Shield Battery. He has a cannon, 2 cannons actually, to fall back to. Solar is going to have to back up. But at the same time, Solar's Lings found that hidden 4th base. No 4th base for you, Classic. He wants to try to mine through here, but he's going to actually open this up at the worst time as the Lings are right here. But the Muta's going back in. And again, do the Stalkers win this fight? It feels like Classic is kind of winning the fight. More Corruptors and more Mutas on the way. They're about to have their... Oh, no, they're not. It's on the way. +1 Carapace is on the way for him. But +1 attack on the way for Classic. He has recognized, yeah, you're going mass air. I need to counter that. I'm also going air. Phoenix is coming out. Phoenixes with their Anti-Impulse Crystals do okay against Corruptors. The +1 can really help them as well, but it's not quite done yet. The Colossi obviously get hit by the air units as well, but they can help against the Lings in the meantime. There's a bunch of Zealots out. Who even cares about charge? The Lings are going to get on top of them anyways. Solar's just trying to bust this down. He wants to just push through with Ling Muta Corruptor. Not even Banelings in here, just Ling Muta Corruptor. I feel like Banelings would be so good. That nest is almost done. Oh, Stasis Ward, the only thing keeping Classic's Nexus alive right now. Solar's going to immediately turn down there to try to get on top of it with the air army. And Classic's not ready for this. Where are those Phoenixes? They're over here. Not enough Stalkers to deal with this. Colossus is about to go down. Actually gets saved. Really nicely done here from Classic. Keeping the Colossi alive for a bit longer while the Phoenixes get here. The Lings, though, are going to get a cancel on that 4th base. And again, Classic's economy just kept in the dumps. Yeah, he keeps the Colossi alive, but Solar is still, even with taking all these terrible, terrible trades, he's still in such a great spot. That being said, he lost a lot there. Oh my god, but these Lings get in. This is so annoying. How did those Lings get in? Classic, no. Oh, he's going to depower both of these. Brutal. The problem is, no matter how good Classic trades, and it's been pretty good, 4,000 resources is solid. Solar's taking a 6th base. He's been on around 80 drones this whole time. His economy is just cruising, no problem. And Classic's running out of money. He's running out of places to mine. And now there's Banelings. Bane speed is done. The Prism's going to go down. The Stalkers blink forward, but the Banelings are here to take advantage of that. They are going to smash forward, and it doesn't look like there's enough here from Classic. Some Lings on the backside as well. The Colossi doing their best, but the Corruptors are going to win the air battle, and GG gets called as Classic's army gets knocked down. Solar spent so much on that, but his mining is just better. Classic wasn't going to be able to counterattack. He was just defend, 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 but he could never push out and take that 4th base, secure that extra mining. And Solar ties the series up 1-1, taking us to game number 3. Which I believe, yeah, here it is. There it is. We're getting right into it. Amanita muscaria, a poisonous hallucinogenic edible mushroom. Both poisonous and hallucinogenic. The best combo. And by best, I mean most terrifying. Although I guess if I was going to get poisoned and die from some mushroom, I would also want to be hallucinating, because maybe that would make me feel better in those final moments. But all right, let's get into game 3 here. We're on Oceanborn, and in the lower right-hand corner, we have Onside Gaming's Solar. His opponent in the upper left-hand corner is Twisted Minds Classic. When I see somebody else looking for the bracket in the chat, I disabled the bracket command because the tournament has ended. We have reached backwards in time to cast some of the matches earlier that were missed. Nobody covered these, so We didn't really get to see what happened. We just know they're bangers because look at these players. But I disabled the bracket so nobody could accidentally spoil themselves if they were walking into chat. More fun to not know who wins. Especially here on game 3. We're all tied up. It comes down to this game. And I just want to see more good games of StarCraft. We have more matches to cast after this. So in the bracket, I will tell you that the winner of this ends up going up against Hero. So we will cast that match as well. And we also have a TVT. A little Gumiho versus Oliveira action. Exciting stuff all around, really. I'm glad you love the mustache. I'm really enjoying the mustache. The handlebar stash, I think, is a decent look for me. I shaved in kind of a goofy facial hair yesterday. Just shaving the chin. It was the General Burnside look or the Lemmy. And I went to work with that facial hair today, and man, I felt so silly. It's fun to feel silly sometimes, but I don't know that it was a good thing today. I felt really goofy. But the handlebar stash, I feel like this is goofy in a good way. This is the kind of silly I want to be. I'm happy with it. Kind of nice, too. It's been a long time since I've shaved my beard. And I don't know if anybody out there has a kind of a long-term beard. When you shave it, your chin is so cold. Your face is so cold, and you're just not used to it. And I work in a meat cooler. It's about 45 degrees in there most of the time. My chin was so cold today. I was like, it was wild. And I know tomorrow my cheeks are going to be super cold too. I'm really excited though. And I also realized I haven't shaved since I moved here to Seattle. And I don't have a razor. I don't have like a regular razor. I have a buzzer that takes it down pretty far and will look fairly clean shaven. My beard doesn't grow super fast, so I can just buzz it down and it's good for the day. But like, I can't fully clean shave because I don't have a razor because I haven't shaved since I moved here. I haven't needed to fully clean shave my face. So I might have to buy one of those. I'm planning on being a vampire for Halloween this year. And I wanted a clean face for that. It's been a long time since I cleaned the face fully. That's kind of fun. I'm also looking forward to taking the handlebars off and going for just the mustache for a while. It's the look that every girl hates. If you're out there, you're a guy, you got a girlfriend, you ask her how she'd feel about you with a mustache. I guarantee you she would hate it. For some reason, they all hate it. It's so consistent. There's going to be like one or two exceptions out there, but like it is just, it's so across the board. The hate for the stash right now is real powerful. Personally, I love a good stash. My stash isn't the best, but it feels pretty nice to have on. Anyways, we've got a third PVZ on our hands. It is yet another macro opening from these guys. Not too surprising. Classic is certainly, of these two players, the one I would expect to go for something kind of cheeky. Maybe go for a really aggressive opening. But we're just not seeing that. He seems very content to do Stargate into macro. It's not too surprising with GSL back on right now. These guys might be more interested in hiding any specific builds they might be leaning towards. And it's always safe to show your macro game, right? Nobody's looking at these games trying to study up like, oh, what builds does Solar have? Oh, it's this build. No, this is his macro build. They can look at a lot of his play, but it's just going to be kind of the standard stuff you find in every game, right? Same thing for Classic. These are just fully macro builds. It's good practice. You're never going to get better practice than playing against another one of the top, 10, 15 players in the world in a tournament. Everybody's, trying their hardest. They're playing their heart out here. And this is the best kind of practice you can get. I think the players love, especially the players that do play in these weeklies, I think really appreciate them as good practice. There's a bit of a different vibe when you're in a tournament, even an online tournament. I feel like you put in that extra little bit of effort. Classic going for the blink +1 this game. And then straight into the double force. This seems to be the same as last game. Despite the fact that the mutas did very well against him, maybe counting on the lack of mutas this game. And it is just roaches here out of Solar for right now. Going into that second forge. No double robo this time, though. That was at the same time as the second forge, so slightly different move here from Classic. Solar heading into that infestation pit. He's usually pretty quick to the hive. He likes to get that tech going and flowing. Maybe not quite as quick as Dark is usually, but he'll get there if he's allowed to. Classic, I think, is going to put some pressure on with the blink and +1. This was actually in... was it game 1 of this series? Oh, yeah, on hard lead, right? He had the blink move out, but the blink just wasn't done yet. So he had a bunch of blinkless stalkers pushing out later on in the game. This time blink is done. We have some stasis traps here to try to catch Solar if he runs too far forward. I think he knows those are there. So he could send a couple of lings up to deal with them. But Classic going to rotate around down here. Solar will push him away. So far, these stalkers not getting a lot done. And while he is getting to hive, Solar also using that infestation pit to get a couple of infestors out. And because they start with enough for a fungal, that can be a powerful move. Great move there from Classic to try to snipe that infestor. But the transfuse, the counter move from Solar, he saw it coming, keeps the infestor alive, gets a nice little fungal, kills some of the stalkers. Some more stalkers do show up here. So Classic will be able to get away. But Solar defending beautifully there. Honestly, what a fun back and forth. The infestor pops out. Classic blinks away. Gets a few stalkers in range to kill it. Just a few, so he's not sacrificing too much. But the transfuse and the fungal, incredibly well handled by both players. What a fun little back and forth interaction here. Solar, though, with a moment to breathe now. Up to 80 drones. His 4 bases are cruising. Classic's 4 bases are cruising as well. But I feel like the stalkers need to get a lot more damage done here. Classic is down quite a bit of army supply, and Solar's army is looking pretty nice with those infestors to back them up to stop these stalkers from being as cost efficient as they would like to be. Another beautiful fungal here. Gonna kill some of the stalkers and a lot of these zealots. In fact, all these zealots gonna go down on the front lines, and the stalkers will just blink away. Solar, though, gonna keep on pushing. He doesn't seem to have the Hydra upgrades. Range upgrade just finished up, but Groove Spines is not quite done yet, so they are very slow little dudes. Classic trying to send some units in, but I think maybe sensing that Solar was pulling back, decides maybe not quite yet. I'll pull back. I'll hang out with the Crab Beetle on the left side here. Disruptors finally coming out, but Classic very late to the double Robo Bay situation. And it feels like these Disruptors are just late to the party. Those infestors have been out for so long. We're almost 10 minutes into this game. And Solar is ready to push. He is at max supply, and the Disruptors are not here. There's no other splash damage right now for Classic. Stalkers getting caught and killed on the retreat. This 4th base in some trouble. Classic sending a huge amount of Zealots across the map. The Queens are not going to be enough to stop this, though. This could absolutely just kill the 4th base. But speaking of killing the 4th base, Solar, well, he is doing it on this side of the map. Killing Classic's 4th. Killing a lot of the probes down here and zoning out with the Lurkers. The Lurkers do not have their upgrades quite yet, but as I say that, they're about to finish this up. I don't think the Zealots can stop that from happening. But they can stop this Lurker, the second Lurker upgrade, because I'm pretty sure they're just going to kill this Lurker. And yeah, a new one goes down. Solar recognizing he's going to need a new one. And the Lings will now clean up the Zealots. War Prism getting shuffled away. Both players losing their 4th bases. Solar does have a new one up here, though, so it's still 4 bases for the Zerg. He maintained a lot of his workers, 71 to 61. But Classic, in a very similar position to last game now, stuck on 3 bases. He needs to take a 4th base. but he just lost a lot of his army. All the zealots across the map went down. The Prism is still alive with a couple of zealots in it, but he lost a lot of his stalkers, and he's just got a Stalker Disruptor army back at home. It doesn't have a lot of meat to it. It's a very dangerous army to engage into. The Disruptors can get massive shots, but I feel like as long as Solar doesn't take the biggest, beefiest shots in the world, he should be able to just kill this army. He is pathing a little bit weirdly with a couple of units over here, but he just burrows the Lurker, and it works out pretty well for him. Disruptor Nova does get sent forward. Solar's going to need to be careful about that. There is a Warp Prism around? Okay, it's still here. It's still chilling. It's an important Warp Prism. Solar's going to try busting through these rocks. He wants to go hit this 4th base that Classic is attempting to take. Classic's economy is pretty down in the dumps. He really needs this 4th base, and soon. But Solar is trying to stop it from happening. A couple of nice Disruptor Novas, though, zoning Solar away. The Lurker's nowhere to be found. Classic knows where the Lurkers are. He sends the 2 Novas forward, gets some nice connections, blinks forward for another Lurker, but oh, there were a bunch down here killing those Stalkers. Solar maintains the army supply lead. He's retaking this 5th base. The Prism's just doing nothing. Classic, I feel like he could get that in here and maybe force a cancel, but he's so focused on the defense that I don't think he remembers that Prism is down there. Solar diving forward, getting on top of these high Templar that were trying to wait for Storm, and Classic caught out of position. A couple of Disruptor Novas going to connect decently, but there's still like 8 Lurkers here. All right, now down to 6, but the base goes down, and that is the important damage. And there are Vipers out now as well. Solar going to be able to yoink some of these important Disruptors. Zealot run-by comes in. Doesn't seem to be getting a lot of damage, though, as Solar is clearing it up. Classic trying to move out, but he needs to be so careful. There's so much stuff here, and it's such a big surround. The Disruptors don't do as well when there's a huge surround like this, so he's going to pull back up that ramp, try to get some big connections. They're okay, but I don't know if they're okay enough. The Stalker count is down to just 12, and there's so much stuff here. The Viper is going to abduct some of these units. The Disruptors, only 2 of them left alive, and Solar is pushing Classic back into his 3rd base. A couple of Immortals out to help. There's still 4 or 5 Lurkers here and a bunch of Hydras. Solar realizing there is no 4th base to attack. It is just a 3-base Protoss right now, and that is so, so good for Solar. He's going to dive in. Another Disruptor Nova connects, kills another Lurker, but this one over on the left is going to get taken down. Solar not quite feeling like he has enough to push through. That Prism was finally remembered. It's going to get into the main again. But it looks like this time the Prism's going to go down. The Zealots are not going to get that much damage done. Solar will pull back, if only to wait for reinforcements. He is 71 supply ahead. Classic's economy is pretty terrible, and it's only going to get worse and worse as he continues to mine out these mineral fields. The main base is moments away from being dry. And Solar is going to find this army. Disruptor Novas do connect very, very nicely, but he needs so much more than that, and he just doesn't have it. Classic getting caught out there, but it was really Solar just pummeling him back, keeping him on 3 bases. And just like in Game 2, it was very successful for him. Solar takes the 2-1 victory and knocks Classic out of the KSL.